He sprints out. Looking. Stops. In trouble, and he gets decked at the 30-yard line. Wow! What a hit! And that's Perrion Winfrey. Here's Mertz. In the pocket, and he gets crushed. Wow! Daxton Hill shot out of a cannon.
The reverse into the hands of Presley. Presley, the wide receiver, just got lit up. J.L. Skinner laying the wood.
Welcome back to Devy IDP Grind. I'm Daryl, and I'm joined by Justice and Brock. What's going on, guys?
Not much, man. How you guys doing?
Not enjoying this beatdown my Titans is getting right now. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for your Tennessee Titans.
This is horrible.
That it is. I'm good. Thanks for asking.
I did. I said, "What? How you guys doing?" And you didn't answer. Only Justice did. It's like
Well, you said guys, and then you start going on some freaking speech about your Titans, so you really didn't give me an opportunity. So
I was just answering his question.
It hurts. It's all right. I'm good. Thanks for asking, Justice.
Oh shoot! Yeah, we're already off the rails. That's where we're going with this. Big week last week, some upsets and all that good stuff. And some injuries. Troy linebacker Carton Marl set out last week. I didn't even know he was going to be out.
I posted it in the chat, man.
I didn't even know he was going to be out. I didn't see it till it was too late, so that's all right.
So
suffered a lower body injury.
Pay attention this week. See if he's plays.
All right. Texas linebacker DeMarvion Overshawn was arrested on Monday morning from a incident back in July. He was arrested for possession of less than 2 ounces of marijuana and was released. Head coach Steve Sarkisian said that Overshawn's punishment was handled internally months ago. It should be noted that Overshawn received a targeting penalty in the second half of the game against UTSA Saturday, and unless it gets overturned, he will miss the first half next week versus Texas Tech. So it was handled in-house, huh?
That's what it said. I mean, it happened when I looked. It just got reported today, but it happened. I saw two different dates. One I saw it happen in July of this year,
right? And
then something else said it happened in December of 21. So regardless, it happened a while ago, and they already took care of his punishment. So, but no matter what, he's only playing a half. Only playing the second half Saturday anyway because of the targeting penalty.
Houston starting linebacker Malik Robinson will miss the rest of the season with a torn pec. And Boise State linebacker Marco, I don't know how you say this, Notaranini will miss the remainder of the season due to injury as well. Utah State defensive tackle Philip Paya tore his ACL, and he will miss the rest of the season. A lot of injuries last week.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only one that might be of any substance would be Malik Robinson, right? He was a starter. I think the other two guys were kind of like second-string backup guys.
Yeah. You've got an interesting tidbit here. Tulane's defense has not been penalized one time through 3 games. That's kind of hard to believe.
It is, right? And I think your initial intuition is that it's a good thing. But then I'm thinking, maybe it's not such a good thing, right? Because I mean, you're not playing. It's good from you're not playing stupid, but it also means you're not. I would assume it means you're not playing very aggressive either.
Right, but you've got to think at least somewhere in 3 games they've been flagged for pass interference. In today's age.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, I actually view it as maybe not so good thing because to me it would seem to indicate they're not playing very aggressive.
Well, I don't know if it's not a good thing. I mean, I think it means maybe they're just disciplined and smart. And I don't know what Tulane's record is. I mean, that probably is the bigger tell.
I mean, yeah, there's an argument for both sides, right?
They beat K-State this week, right?
Did they?
I'm going to beat K-State this week. Was that Tulane or so?
I don't know.
I think it was them. Yeah, I think it was them.
I mean, they're 3-0, so I say it's a good thing.
Yeah.
No, you're right. They beat them 17-10.
Yeah, and I actually think that game opened it closed right before kickoff. It closed at a 14-point spread for Kansas State.
For Kansas State, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a big swing. I saw this posted on Twitter as well. A heartwarming, feel-good story. Every single player on Louisiana Tech, which played Clemson on Saturday, every single player wrote a letter to Brian Greasy, who lost the brain cancer this week. And that, I don't know if y'all saw the picture, but it was just a big box stacked plumb full from that. I thought that was
it was up there with Dabo, right? When he was doing the press conference
right.
He took it up with him, I think, yeah.
Yeah,
that's good to see, right? Because I mean, I don't know. If I'm a parent of someone that's considering Louisiana Tech, right? That's got to be mega points because he's teaching them something,
Yep.
More
Hello,
than just
Douglas. And speaking on another feel-good story, I don't know if y'all saw it, but the BYU Oregon game, Oregon painted the 4-yard line hash on each end zone. They painted it yellow instead of the traditional color for the tight end that passed away, cliff diving or whatever it was earlier this year.
Yeah.
And BYU, I forget the player's name. He had transferred from Oregon to BYU. He came out and laid a dozen roses on that 4-yard line, and they also come out with a banner, Oregon banner, with his number on it right before the game, waving around. So very classy on their part too.
That is.
Nebraska defensive coordinator Eric has been relieved of his duties.
Eric Chenander.
Sorry, Chop. This is Justice's fault. He put it in the notes. I have to read what he puts in the notes.
You don't have to do anything.
I mean,
like
he deserved to, right, Chop? I mean,
oh god,
his defenses look terrible.
Well, yeah, but we can talk about every other freaking defensive coordinator hiring or firing and head coach hiring and firing. We just pick it on one program.
Yeah, Justice. No, that's not cool, bro.
We are an equal opportunity talker, buddy.
Oh, bullshit.
Oh, man. And you said you hadn't heard the Jeff Brom news? That they were looking at him? I was listening to it on the radio.
You know what? Every somewhat available head coach is going to be tied to that program over the next 3 months. So I don't think that I don't pay too much stock in anything at this point because who knows? I mean,
right.
I don't know what Brom's contract is like, but I mean, his buyout could be such that.
I like the Leopold call the best. I like that one.
Well, I mean, he's got ties. I think he was I
think Choppy froze on us.
You gave him a brain freeze right there. You messed him up.
The Nebraska talk gave him a brain freeze.
He's literally frozen. Maybe He'll be back here in a minute.
There he is.
There he is.
Yeah.
There he is.
So I don't know. There's gonna be a lot of speculation around that program and probably a few others that come up. So
Right. Well, that was my question. Do you think that it would be like someone with ties that they hire, or do they try to go completely opposite of what they did with Frost?
Well, I think you want somebody that's familiar with the Big Ten, and I think you want someone that's familiar with the Midwest, right? Because you have to realize it's Lincoln, Nebraska, and you're not going to probably necessarily dominate recruiting in California and Texas and Florida and stuff like that at first. And so how do you find those diamonds in the rough kind of thing? That's why I think, a guy like, Leopold, or even the Kansas State coach, that's kind of, he's built a program on 2 and 3 star players, right? Not necessarily needing 4-star players and stuff, and
Right.
and figuring that end out, But I mean, I don't. Who knows what they're thinking? Urban Meyer is the rumor now, but that's a bunch of horse shit, I think.
Right.
I think Leopold will be good. I think that I want to say his name's Leonard. I might be wrong, but the defensive coordinator from Wisconsin is somebody that
Jim Leonard.
Yeah, I've heard kind of as a potential, and I think that would probably be a good hire because that's but who knows? I mean, they've got someone might love the unlimited resources out there and say they can do it, but I mean, I think they also have that stigma now that it's a 3-year job and you're out, so
Right.
that's why I don't think you're going to see a Fickle or Campbell or anybody like that. They got so much job security now and they're making a crap load of money the way it is. Are you going to subject yourself to that? I don't think so. And that. So who knows? We'll see. But yeah, I'm sure they'll fire their offensive coordinator next week, and they'll fire their interim head coach the week after that, and probably they'll pick some lucky fan from there on that's going to coach the team for that week.
The interim. What was he before? What was he, offensive coordinator? Or?
No, he was Mickey Joseph was a wide receiver coach. Okay. So, I mean, I think you see teams
Vance
do
Joseph's
that.
brother, right?
Huh?
Is he related to Vance Joseph?
Yeah, that's his brother. Mickey Joseph was he was a quarterback for Nebraska back in the late 80s, early 90s. And he's a recruiting whiz. I mean, he was responsible for a ton of crap that LSU got. Like he recruited Jefferson and Boot and all kinds of receivers there. And I think he's been pretty good for that receiver room in Nebraska. But my guess is they made him head coach because then you can keep you keep the OC and the DC kind of focusing on the game plan and the offense and let him hire, you've seen that a lot. Other teams, the special teams coordinator is the guy that winds up being the head coach. Or
you think there's any shot that Mickey's going to get the actual job? Probably not.
After Saturday, no.
Yeah, that was his audition, I think.
Well, there's no way that. The sad thing is about Nebraska football is you haven't seen the bottom fall out yet, I don't think. We're going to probably see that over the next 9 games, 8 games, whatever the fuck is left.
And I saw an interesting number, whatever you want to call it. Last Saturday marked, and I need to go back and look, it was either the 386th or 396th consecutive sellout.
385th, I think it was.
385th?
Yeah.
Which is mind-boggling because teams like that, when they start to lose, my Vols, right? Selling out Neyland Stadium, 102,000. When they started losing, they didn't sell games out, right? So even to see Nebraska in kind of a downturn, that's pretty impressive that they're still selling that stadium out. And if they can get the right coach and turn that around, that's going to be a huge recruiting tool for them.
Yeah, that's that is good to have the fan base behind you, but that's bad too because I think the thing is that Nebraska, for what it is, I mean, still has expectations and, from the fans and a lot of the boosters and the school that they're going to be, a top 25 program. They need to bring somebody in with the realization that that's not going to happen, and I mean, it didn't work out. And that's, I mean, hell, they fired two coaches, Solich and Pelini, that were that were pretty successful, right?
Yeah.
And by a lot of schools programs, and who knows how much history would have changed. And now then they've had three with Callahan, Riley, and Frost that were complete fuck ups. But I mean, that's the other thing I think about too. So you might come in and be 8-5 for 3 straight years at Nebraska, and that's not good enough.
Right. I mean, that's what happened to Butch Jones, right? He was 8-9 wins for 2 or 3 years, and eventually they outed him, right? And even after that, they brought in Pruitt, which was a disaster. And they finally, seemingly, I won't say finally, but seemingly have found their guy, right, in Josh Heupel. So,
but who knows? I mean, they haven't really gotten to the SEC play yet, right?
True, very true.
I mean,
we'll find out this week what we got.
They got Florida this week, right?
You're 3-0 now, but I mean, would you be shocked at the end of the day if you're 7-5 at the end of the regular season?
No, I would not.
I mean, that's just being honest, right? I mean, I think that.
No, I am being honest because that's you've got 2 guaranteed wins or losses in Georgia and Alabama coming. So
yeah,
that would you have to go if you're 3-0 now, you have to go 4-3 down the stretch.
Yeah,
or in the middle of that, and no, I wouldn't be surprised.
And then where do they, what do they think of him if that's 2 years of 7-5, right?
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, the NFL, or I should say the NCAA coaching expectations are becoming very similar to the NFL. Where it seems like you get 3-4 years, long. And Frost deserves to get fired. I mean, there's a whole laundry list of shit on him. It sounds like, and and some was probably he knew his time was up too. Right. He's like, well,
and it's that win now mentality that like you said, a new coach comes in, they expect you to, especially programs like Nebraska, Tennessee, Michigan, whoever, that they want you to win now. And if you can't,
well, and you got all these, and I get it somewhat too. I mean, you got a transfer portal now to improve your roster that you didn't have in the past, and recruiting and things like that too, so.
But you got to recruit your own roster every year too, so they don't leave.
Right.
Well, but I mean, you're going to lose.
You're going to lose some guys no matter what you do.
I mean, you recruit 20, what do you get? 25 scholarship freshmen or 26 or whatever the number is.
25, I believe.
And I think that, and now you get what, for every player you lose in the transfer portal, you get a scholarship you can add up to like 8 or 9 or some weird thing, I think.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got lots of guys coming and going and stuff like that, which makes it harder, which makes it kind of like an NFL job though, too. I mean, NFL rosters turn over probably 40 or 50% every year, and college rosters are kind of the same. I mean, you use those 25 incoming freshmen, and I think you need to find the 12 to 15 that you want and are part of your program, and you figure out how to keep those, and the other, dozen, you're like, well, if they're here, they're here. If they're not, we'll move on to the next guy. So,
right. And speaking of the portal, now they have limited to 2 periods, right? So,
yeah. Cool. People say they're entered the portal, but that's not true because they can't. They don't open until December.
You didn't put that in the notes. You put in there the fucking defensive coordinator for Nebraska getting canned. But then they've actually changed the whole goddamn portal thing. That doesn't find your notes, Justice? Crying out loud. It's a conspiracy.
Why is he trying to pick
Cornhusker conspiracy, man. Cornhusker conspiracy.
Just because I missed last week?
That's right.
It is. This is your punishment.
This is your punishment.
I thought my punishment was being here this week.
Well, we're doubling down.
That's right.
But that changes things, having those 2 periods, right? I mean, because before it was kind of the wild, wild west, do whatever, whenever.
Well, and that's what I don't understand. Like there was a receiver just entered the portal today. I'm like, what's the point? Because you can't do anything, right? And
I think that you can enter the portal, but I don't like you said, you're not going nowhere until that
Well, you
window
can't,
opens up.
but you're technically not in the portal.
Well, I think you can. I think it puts your name out there probably. So for
I guess, but
other programs can maybe, I guess be aware of you. But
So
yeah,
one's in
that one was
December.
weird though, right? Because he followed his head coach there.
Right. So one's in December. When's the other one?
I don't know.
I want to say it's
Probably in
after
the
spring
spring,
ball.
I'm guessing. Yeah.
I think it's May or something like that. Yeah.
So, which is kind of good because I think with those 2 windows, it kind of gives players time to think, right? Instead of just entering the portal and going, maybe, here in October, you get mad and you want to transfer. Well, by the time December rolls around, you can actually transfer. Maybe something's calmed down. Maybe something's changed.
Well,
So I think that will limit some of the.
I think it's given players time, but I also think that there was so much in the portal that the NCAA realized it was a problem because, I mean, you had I don't know,
I think 1,500 players in the portal at once.
Well, but
I think it was more than that, like 1,900 or something.
But out of the Division I players, only like half ended up in Division I, and the Power 5 only half ended up in Power 5, right? Like,
yeah,
it's kind of a, for the most part, I think you're like your Jamar Gibbs and guys like that. I mean, that's the exception to the rule, right? The reality of it is that most of these kids are, probably losing a scholarship and maybe not even find another place, or they're winding up in JUCO or playing at fucking, Tennessee Institute of the Blind or something like that. I mean, it's just
Tennessee State Tech.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anybody that's educating these players on whether it's smart or not to go into the portal. So maybe slowing down the windows is going to help some of that, where they're not as committed in there, because maybe that kid today he's in there, so maybe now though, like the coaches can actually talk to him and find out what some of his concerns and issues are. And, they might, and be like, well,
you would hope like the kid would have talked to the coaches before he did it.
I don't think they do. I just think they do it.
I don't think they do either.
It's just this. I mean, it's the era we live in, right? Where if you don't
that's just bad. That's like bad business, though, right? I mean,
no, but I mean, how many people have a job and they just up and leave?
Oh, you're absolutely right. But I'm just saying that's bad practice.
I mean, it's just the mentality of this day and age. I don't think that it's
because people aren't mind readers, right? And so if you can't, you got to be able to communicate. If you can't communicate, then you get what you get, I guess.
Well, and I'm sorry, for the most part, if you're not good enough to see the field at.
Well, that guy today, he was the number 2 receiver for him, so it wasn't like he wasn't playing. That's just a really weird situation.
Right. All right. And our final piece is Herm Edwards is out as head coach of Arizona State. I think we all kind of seen this coming.
I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner, right?
Yeah. Sean Aguano has been named the interim head coach, and he was an assistant in charge of running backs prior. He was one of the most decorated coaches in Arizona high school football history, and he joined the Sun Devils in January of 2019. I mean, I guess he could wind up being the permanent coach, but I guess it depends on what happens.
I think it's possible, but yeah. I mean, they're going to get sanctions too. So,
Arizona State being the number 1 party school and Urban Meyer, that just seems like a match made in heaven.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Oh my God.
That would be such a terrible match. I mean, no one should hire him. I don't think.
No, that just seems too good to be true. Like that, he'll. I'm here for it.
Oh,
seems like a train wreck waiting to happen.
Oh, I can't even
imagine
right now,
if Arizona State,
the stories and headlines.
If Arizona State started a GoFundMe to get Urban Meyer there, I would donate to it.
You know what? I might have to donate to it too, because that would
just because I want to see that. I'm here for that. We don't get enough excitement in our life anymore. That's something that you just need. The world needs that. We should start.
And that's almost like a perfect match too, right?
Oh. Could you imagine him there, man? He would lose his mind.
Wow. Whew. Yeah, that's a story we all need for sure. Before we move on, Action 24/7, locally owned gambling site for Tennesseans by Tennesseans. got all the odds just like the big boys do, and you can bet on freaking anything. And I literally mean anything: baseball, basketball, football, hockey, soccer, golf,
Darts,
racing, F1,
cricket.
darts, ping pong, cricket. Yes, you can bet on AAA baseball. I mean, you name it, they have literally got it. College football, anything you can think of, they've got it. So go check them out. We thank them for being a supporter. If you're a first-time depositor, you can use our promo code Hollywood100, and they'll match you up to $400. So if you put in $4, they're going to give you $4. It's $800 to bet with, and I don't know of anybody that does that. So if you live in the state of Tennessee, go check them out. If you like to gamble, there you go. And even if you don't want to gamble, they've got a completely different section that's all free, right? It doesn't cost you a penny, and they give away a bunch of great prizes and money. So go check them out on that as well. If you just want to play for fun, they got that. So, and we also want to thank at trophysmack.com for giving us our hardware for our listener leagues on the NFL side, our pro side, and then on our Devy IDP Grind Listener League, you know, they support us on the campus side too. And Justice is about to hold up a couple of pieces where he won last year. Comes in a nice little box there. Nice heavy quality rings, right?
Yep.
Nicely designed. Yeah. That's the one he got for the NF side, and he's got one for the campus side too. So if you're running those kind of leagues, you need something, go check them out. You can go to IDP Nation pod page, and there's a link in our sponsors. You click that link, and they can set you up with a discount there. They got everything: belts, rings, plaques, trophies, you name it, they've got it. Good quality stuff. So go check that out. That's enough of that, Justice. No one likes a bragger.
I'll just stay here.
So
like
we
this.
think that. So we thank them for being one of our sponsors. Players of the week. For me, mine was David Perales, Fresno State versus USC. 3 tackles, 3 solos, 2 sacks, 2 TFLs. And those numbers should have been even more because he just pressured Williams all night long. Was really the one disruptive force that Fresno State had for defense. He's going to be something to be dealt with.
And he had a lot of pressures too. Like,
yeah, I was sitting here kind of watching the game, and I noted. I think he had at least 6 or 7 pressures. I mean, he was in the backfield all night. Whoever that left tackle was, he made him work. He abused him he wore him out. So, and then he made some stops in the run game too, right? I mean, he's a good one to have. Unfortunately, they lost, but still, that was my player of the week. Choppy, who you got?
Mine. So I went down to a lower division for mine. It was defensive back PJ Jules for Southern Illinois. He had 11 solo tackles, 1 sack, and a tackle for loss in their upset victory over Northwestern. And he just played an outstanding game as for DB, and was kind of a key part for I guess one of the shockers that happened on this past Saturday. So that's who I went with.
Yeah, I saw they beat Northwestern. I'd like to go back and watch that game this week if I can get some time. So, and Justice, who you got?
My player of the week was linebacker Dayon Henley, Washington State. They played Colorado State. They won 38-7. He had 13 total tackles, 5 solo tackles, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and 2 forced fumbles.
Nice.
So good to see him playing good. He's a transfer. He came from Nevada, right? And he's kind of like a linebacker, safety hybrid type. So good to see him playing well with a step up in competition.
Yep.
Although
And
Colorado
that is
State's not very good.
Yep, and that's our 3 players of the week. David Perales, Fresno State, PJ Jules, Southern Illinois, and Dayon Henley for Washington State. So a defensive end, a corner, and a linebacker. So good job on their parts. Maybe they'll repeat next week, but we'll see. Fancy IDP corner for week 3. Justice, you've went through the Campus to Canton leagues and come up with the top players. So if you want to run away with it.
Yep. So spent today kind of finishing up scoring of the IDP. So the first league is the Devy IDP Grind C2C Listener League, which all 3 of us are in. The top defensive end. This league's a little different because we start DNs, D tackles, linebackers, cornerbacks, and safeties. The top defensive end was Jordan Dominic from Arkansas. Tulane, Daffit owns him. He scored 20 points. The top defensive tackle, and he has dual eligibility in Fantrax, is Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech, owned by our buddy Choppy here. He had 29.5 points. The top linebacker was Drew Sanders from Arkansas, owned by UMass FF Banterman, 31.5 points. The top safety, who we've talked about, was Dayon Henley from Washington State. Again, he has dual eligibility in Fantrax. He's owned by Miami, who I know is a listener, Canuck 49er Jr. He had 37 points. Top cornerback was Garrett Williams, Syracuse, owned by Syracuse Jay Haggart, 23 points. And the top IDP team score, I finally beat Choppy with IDP team score. That was my team was top with 205.2 points. Next league is Campus to Canton, which Brock is the commissioner, and all 3 of us are in that league, as well as a host of other characters. Top defensive lineman, once again, Tyree Wilson, Texas Tech, owned by Rob W. NC State, 29.5 points. Top linebacker, again, that dual eligibility, Dayon Henley, Washington State, owned by Pitt or Austin from Campus to Canton with 37 points. The top defensive back was Nick Emanwari from South Carolina, owned by Cam Burglars with 28 points. And the top IDP team score was NC State Rob W. with 138 points. Fantasy Football Legends, again, another league all 3 of us are in. Brock is the commissioner. So you'll notice some of the same names again. Top defensive lineman, Tyree Wilson, Texas Tech, owned by Brock, 29.5 points. Top linebacker, Will Anderson, Alabama. Dillon Panthers, Muckin 9, 25 points. Once again, top defensive back, Dayon Henley, Washington State. Howland Hunters, AJ Mancini, and 37 points. And the top IDP team score this week was East LA Lunatics, our buddy Dooge, with 145 points. The next league is Toonland, which is a league run by a lot of the guys at Campus to Canton. I think I'm the only one of us 3 that's in the league. Once again, you've heard these names all night. Top defensive lineman, Tyree Wilson, Texas Tech Gargoyles, 33.5 points. Top linebacker, Dayon Henley, Washington State, the Simpsons, Kyle, 45 points. And here's a different name for you. The top defensive back was Brian Branch, Alabama. Bojack Horseman Shane, 32.72 points. The top IDP team score is Transformers Rob A. with 140.5 points. So that's kind of the league specific. Now, if you're looking for the top overall players in college IDP, if you're a member of Campus to Canton, I post those lists every single week. There's an overall list, a defensive line list, a linebacker list, and a defensive back list. And they'll be posted up on the website tomorrow. And we do have a change from last week. So the new top defensive lineman through 3 weeks. It's no surprise because he's a great lineman. He's We had him on some of our preseason All-American teams. Felix Andubuike Uzomo from Kansas State with 54 points. He's the only new guy. The linebacker is the same as it was last week. Jackson Mitchell from Connecticut with 84 points. And the defensive back is also the same. Bentley Sanders from Nevada with 59 points. Once again, if you're interested in the complete lists, feel free to join Campus to Canton. You'll find those lists in addition to the points and statistics. We also have the 24/7 star rating as well as the recruiting class for each player.
Awesome. Looks like Jackson Mitchell's going to lead the way at linebacker for most of the season, it appears.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take – you got to remember now he did play an extra game. Well, as of now, he played an extra game because he played week 0. But he's still pretty far ahead of everybody. Like, I'll try to bring it up real quick, but I think the number 2 linebacker is at 66 points. So he's almost 20 points ahead of – and that's Drew Sanders from Arkansas. So –
yeah, but that's just one game for Sanders.
That is. The way he's been playing, you're absolutely right. That's one game. So probably when Jackson Mitchell has a bye week, you'll see the others close that gap.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
The same with Nevada, too. I think Nevada's played 3 games as well.
Yes, they have. And Sanders is holding his own, though. And I think that's going to continue.
He's been an interception machine, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's
been a sack machine.
That interception pace, but with the conference he's in and the way
Bentley
that
Sanders.
they just
Bentley. Are we talking about Bentley or Drew? Which guy are you talking about?
I thought. Well, I don't know who we're. Drew Sanders has got a game less. He can't be too far behind Mitchell.
No, he's about 20. He's 20 points behind him right now. But
Bentley Sanders.
Bentley he's had 4 interceptions.
Yeah, but
I just think with how they play out there with no defense and them being behind, I think he won't have the interception every week, but he's going to make a lot of plays for your fantasy team.
Drew Sanders has had 5.5 sacks. See, I can tell you who the sack leaders are. So the sack leaders at linebacker, Xander Mueller from Northwestern with 6 sacks, followed by Drew Sanders and Jacoby Windman with 5.5. Defensive line, the top sacks is Felix Andubuike Uzomo with 5, followed by Derek Parrish with 4.5.
No, Parrish had all those in one game, didn't he?
Yes. The tackle leaders, total tackles, of course, Jackson Mitchell, number 1 with 49. Number 2, though, my buddy from Old Dominion, Jason Henderson, 42 total tackles. Number 3 is Anthony Orji, Vanderbilt, 39. He's tied with Eddie Williams, Florida Atlantic. And then you got Tyrese Knight from UTEP up there as well. So.
All right, good stuff. So we'll move on here. Week 3 observations. Just kind of looking at the schedule. There's 3 games Thursday night, 3 games Friday night.
For this coming week, you mean?
Yeah, for this coming week, yes.
So we're supposed to do observations on games that haven't happened yet?
Well, just outlooks, predictions, whatever. You got a couple
top
25.
Let's talk about. We could talk about week. Well, this past week.
Well, I guess
week
it
3.
is. Yeah,
week 4 is coming up. Week 3 just happened.
Well, they call it week 3 because of the whole week 0 thing.
Yeah.
True. What stood out to you?
Kansas beating Houston stood out to me.
Yeah. And Oregon just rolled BYU. I thought BYU would play that game a lot closer than what they did, and they got beat at their own game, which is physicality. Did either of you get to watch Texas A&M and Miami?
I did not. I was watching Texas Tech, NC State.
No, I didn't watch much of that, but I mean, looking at the box score, I think it's, Miami defense came into play probably more than maybe some thought it would. The offense didn't show up for them at all, which kind of hurt, I think. But
yeah, I think a lot of people thought Texas A&M would blow them out. I think.
Well,
I think after last week with them and App State, I don't think anybody knew what to think. But I kind of figured that. I think that a lot of folks probably assumed that you would see some scoring in it, and Van Pelt would be able to get some stuff done, but I mean that wasn't the case. But Miami's defense hung in there, right, and they made it.
Right.
Like I said, despite the fact their offense did very little, it was a game drought, right? So it was a 17-9 final, I believe.
Yes, it was.
So I think that's that's pretty. I don't think they could have asked. Probably wasn't ideal for them, but I mean, and that's still a program that's trying to figure some things out. What they're going to look like, and now isn't what they want that team to look like a year from now, right? So, I think that was you hate to use like the moral victory kind of thing, but I think for that side of the ball, it was a huge victory for Miami in that game, just how they played.
Right. Then Washington knocking off Michigan State.
Yeah, destroyed Michigan State.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised. I mean, I'm not surprised Washington won. I'm surprised they beat them as bad as they.
Well, and it was out of hand too, right? Until Michigan State kind of mounted a comeback, later on a little bit, but that was I suppose a shocker for a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, I didn't realize Washington was as good as they are, or Michigan State's as bad as they are, maybe, or a combination of both, right?
Yeah, I think it is a combination of both. I think Washington's a lot better than people thought, though.
Yeah, and Michigan State's probably worse than people thought.
Well, I mean, Michigan State was kind of a team that, had a lot of momentum and things that carried out through the season last year, and that's hard to carry over from one year to the next, right? Player for player on the roster. I mean, I know there was a ranking difference, but I mean, talent-wise difference, there probably isn't a huge gap in those two teams.
Yeah, I wouldn't say a huge gap either. The App State game, incredible, right?
Oh my gosh, that was a crazy ending, right?
Yeah,
insane.
Well, and like I don't know. It's easy to play armchair quarterback, but like the running, they ran out of the end zone and gave up a safety, just trying to kill time, and then kicked the ball off with 12 seconds left, and that decision ended up costing them the game.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
they've had.
That's what they already called it, Miracle on the Hill, I think, but.
And they've already had two of the craziest games you'll see if you go back and count the 41-point fourth quarter they had against
North Carolina. Then they beat Texas A&M at Texas A&M. Yeah, App State's had a crazy season. Like,
yeah, they're definitely entertaining, if nothing else, right? You got to tune in and see, because if you don't, you're afraid you're going to miss something, right? So, yeah, that was crazy. There was another big upset too. Who was it? I'm trying to.
Southern Illinois beat Northwestern.
Yep, we talked about Kansas beating Houston. Let's see here.
Tulane
Tulane beat Kansas State.
Beat Kansas State.
Yeah, and they were 14-point favorites.
I don't know if, to me, I don't know if I didn't really necessarily think Kansas beating Houston was an upset.
Well, but they beat them by 18 points.
Yeah, I mean, maybe by that, but I mean, Kansas is pretty good. I mean, I'm not saying they're, they kind of do that about once a decade.
Yeah.
where they kind of sneak into things.
Yeah.
And
No, you're right. You're right. They do that like even last year they snuck up and beat Oklahoma, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a pretty good team, and I mean they got a great college quarterback in that
Jalen Daniels.
That Daniels kid there. You know, I think he'll be fun to watch in the Big 12 going forward. So we'll see. And don't they have they got Duke this week. Battle of the unbeaten, Duke and KU, except for it's in football, not basketball.
Duke ain't got a chance. Duke has no chance.
Well, you'd think so, but it's still KU, so who knows?
Right.
Where's that game? I think it's in Lawrence. I should go check that out.
Justice, your Old Dominion almost pulled off the win over Virginia.
Oh my gosh, man! Let's not even talk about that game. I was so pissed off.
We can talk about Nebraska's defensive coordinator, but we can't talk about the freaking Old Dominion.
Man, it was so bad. It was.
Well, it's not his week this week.
ODU should have won that game by 10 to 14 points without even trying. Like UVA made so many mistakes, and ODU just didn't capitalize. Like the ODU's offense can't get out of their own way, man. It's you're running an option, right? A read pass option with a quarterback that refuses to keep the ball, right? Literally, like every time he stands there for a second, like he's making a read, gives it to the running back, and he runs off and scampers the other way. It's so bad that the defensive all they're doing is crashing the running back because he never keeps the ball. And like it's bad. It is so bad. It's so frustrating. And the thing that irritates me the most is he did the same stuff last year, but he wasn't our starter last year until halfway through the season. So you kind of give him a break, right? Well, you had all off season to either A, tell the kid you gotta freaking keep it sometimes and run it, or B, you gotta tailor the offense to his strengths, right? Clearly he can run because he did it against Virginia Tech. He just refuses to do it. If he had kept the ball 5 or 6 times against UVA, the kid would have ran for 100 yards because the whole defense would crash the running back every single time.
Yep.
It was, and it's so frustrating as a fan to sit there and watch, right? It's like, you keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. And that's the definition of insanity.
Yep. Georgia made South Carolina.
UVA is not good. I'll tell you that. UVA is not good.
Yep. Georgia made Spencer Rattler look bad. Of course, that defense will make anybody look bad. But
Georgia looked really good on Saturday. I did watch that game.
Yes, they did.
They were impressive once again. They definitely, to me, look like the number 1 team in the nation.
Yeah, and how good is Brock Bowers, right? Oof, that dude, 3 touchdowns. One, what was it? 1 rushing and 2 receiving with 5 catches, 121 yards. So he had a heck of a game.
Keely Ringo had a game on defense. I mean, he shut down Antoine Wells, who the week before had 6 or 7 catches for 100 some yards. He didn't even have a catch on Saturday.
Well, it's not just him; it's that line and everything else they bring too, right? So
yes, yeah,
yep. And I mean they played a ton of players. You got them in there. Jalen Carter, looked good. Mikael Williams looked good. 2 tackles, 2 quarterback hurries. Nolan Smith. You mentioned Kylie Ringo, Malachi Starks.
Starks looked good, right?
Yeah, he did.
Starks looked like a future NFL stud.
Yeah, and they held Spencer Rattler to 13 of 25 for $118 and 2 picks. And he was pulled, and they brought in Luke Doty, and he threw a pick. So that defense was on point Saturday. They're going to be hard to beat for sure.
They are, especially the way the offense and Stetson Bennett's playing. Man, Stetson Bennett's playing like lights out.
Well, this whole college season for better or worse, is just shaping up to Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia,
and then somebody else is going to
and
get
then
walloped.
some sacrificial lamb that gets
Right.
as the fourth team, right?
Yep, for sure.
They're like, oh crap, we're getting the payday, but we're going to get, whichever one of those teams winds up having the number one ranking at the end of the season. I mean, Ohio State kind of already had their blog game a little bit, right? And I'm sure Georgia and Alabama probably have something on the horizon. So
Ohio State's defense is playing well. I mean, they're not like Georgia or Alabama well, but they're playing much better than Ohio State defense has played in the years past.
Well, I think they made it a point to shore that up some, right? I don't think it's not a great defense, but it's
better than what they've had.
Well, and they with Travion Henderson and Stroud and those receivers, I mean, they can beat anybody any given day. I mean, they're going to take care of business in a lot, but I mean, I think that them versus Georgia or them versus Alabama, I mean, it might not be 50-50, but I mean, they're going to win their fair share if those teams played 10 times in a season, right? So
yeah. I mean, they got the offense to play with anybody, and I have not been other than Bryce Young, I've not been overly impressed with Alabama's offense.
Well, and even and Young's looked okay, but Stroud looks head and shoulders better than him this year, I think.
Well, I think the problem with Alabama is the receivers.
Well, I mean, Gibbs leads the team in receiving right now. I think in both catches and yards.
Well, the one thing I'd like to see from Gibbs, people tout him as NFL talent, is more run between the tackles, because they're
not giving. I mean, maybe he can't do it, but the team's not giving it to him.
Well, you're right, and so that makes you question: can he do it? And if he can't do it, what does that speak to his NFL future?
Right.
No, but he's got that explosive and play that well in passing game.
Well, he's going to play. I'm not saying he's not going to play in that next level. I'm just, if he's going to be a 3-down back, he's got to be able to run between the tackles.
No, but I mean, how many 3-down backs are there anymore?
True,
right.
True.
I mean, could he be? He could be an Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
Right. Something along those lines. I mean, I just think he's too good of a player that I don't know if that necessarily matters for him. I don't know if if you want him to be Jonathan Taylor, yeah, he needs to be able to do that. But I mean, right now there's only probably 2 guys in college football I see that could step into a Jonathan Taylor role.
Bijan, who's the other one you think?
Henderson. Travion.
Yep.
There's other. I mean, there's Singleton and some other guys that are young. Who
Braylon Allen. I haven't seen Braylon Allen really used as a pass catcher.
Well, and I mean, those big backs like that, man. For every Derrick Henry, there's 10 guys that weren't, just because they're not athletic enough to the next level, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know where he fits for sure. I guess we'll see, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Backs are. It's interesting, but I think Gibbs is gonna be one of those guys that he's gonna have to go. I think to the right scheme and the right system, right? I think he could be very. If a team used him as like Christian McCaffrey, right, where he gets 10 to 15 carries a game, catches 4 or 5 passes a game and stuff like that. But he might not be good enough between the tackles as McCaffrey to do it. But I think that's his ideal thing, right? Someone that's realizes he's not gonna need every carry, and
no, I think Austin Eckler is a good comparison.
Yep. Will Anderson with the interception return for a touchdown. It improves his claim as the number 1 defender in football.
Who?
Which, yeah. You've probably not heard of him. That's why I mentioned him.
Yeah,
but
he's probably a free agent in your leagues, Chop.
Yeah. You should scour the waiver wire endlessly to make sure that you can find him.
Will
that's
what?
good for him Anderson. Will Anderson Jr.
Junior.
S-O-N
Junior.
or S-E-N?
S-O-N.
Looking right now.
Oh, yeah. But that helps him with coverage, right? Because you're thinking of him as a pass rusher. So to be able to see
Yeah.
him do some stuff like that helps him with coverage. So anything else from week 3?
Let's be honest. Like Will Anderson in coverage, you're not drafting him. Who gives a shit what?
No, you're not.
He could be the worst graded
passer.
He could be the worst graded coverage player in the history of freaking football. And
right, and that's what they're going to nitpick him on. Well, he don't play coverage. Well, clearly he can. You know, it's not
if you're drafting for that,
I don't think he's like Micah Parsons.
If you're drafting him for that because you want him to do that, no, you're drafting him because he can kill the quarterback. Period.
Right.
Yep.
Yep, I agree. Anything else from week 3?
Any games you're looking forward to for week 4?
Well, that's kind of what I was looking at. Looks like we have
Ohio State, Wisconsin.
Yep, you've got Clemson, 5th-ranked Clemson against 21 Wake Forest. That's a tough one.
Yeah, But Wake Forest struggled. Liberty should have beat them at Wake Forest last week.
Clemson defense is too good. Like,
yes,
yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
It might not be.
I mean, look what Wake Forest did rushing against Liberty. What do you think they're? I mean, I think they had like 26 rushes for 23 yards. What are they going to? What's Clemson going to do to them?
Yeah, they'll. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I just think Clemson's too good on that defensive side of the ball. That's gonna be like a 27-12 game or something like that.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah,
they're 20 to 10 or something.
Yeah, I don't think. Because the thing is too is that, Clemson is not going to open that game such that they're just going to sit back in a pre-vet defense and let Wake pile up the stats, kind of thing, right? I mean, they're very, very limited on that side of the ball what they're doing. So,
you've got 11th ranked Tennessee.
Yeah, West Virginia, Virginia Tech. Isn't that some kind of rivalry?
Yeah, that's called like the back.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. That's something. Appalachian Mountains, a mountain rivalry.
I don't know. It's got to be something, but that's on it's a night game on Thursday night at Virginia Tech, man. You got a little Enter Sandman action going on. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah. That's Blacksburg's a tough place to play anyway. So, you got 20th ranked Florida coming to Tennessee. Tennessee's ranked 11th. Be a good test for them to see. They've beat up on these cupcakes to begin the season. Now let's see if they can do it against the SEC, right? See if they're ready to take that next step. So, I don't know what to think of Florida. You look at them beating Utah and you think, wow.
Right. And then the last 2 weeks, they kind of struggled.
Yeah. They just didn't look very good at all. So I don't know what to think with them. So
it comes down to Richardson. Like Richardson hasn't looked good. And I read something today that the head coach basically said, we're not running Richardson because which to me, if you're not going to run the guy, like you're taking away like his most valuable asset.
Best attribute. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not. He said they're not running them because they don't have any depth behind them, so they can't afford for them to get hurt. Well, it's a double-edged sword, right? You can't afford for them to get hurt, but if you ain't letting them play, you ain't winning the games anyway. So what difference does it make?
Exactly. So yeah, big test for Tennessee to see if they're going to take that next step. It's been 16 years, I believe it was, since they started 4-0. This is a big test for them. You got 10th ranked Arkansas at 23rd ranked Texas A&M Saturday night.
That should be a good one.
I think so too.
Arkansas looked like Arkansas almost got beat by Missouri State.
Don't you think that was like trap game thing? Right?
Yeah, looking ahead. Yeah.
Looking ahead. I mean, A&M's the game where they're gonna, they feel like they're gonna make their mark. So we'll see.
I mean, and at the end of the day, they did win the game. So
yeah.
At one point, I think it was 17-0.
Oh gosh, yeah. And Missouri State had the lead late too. I think they were up 31-24 or something before they come back. You mentioned Wisconsin at number 3, Ohio State. Scrolling on down to see if there's anybody else.
Iowa State, Baylor.
Yes.
I tell you what I'm interested in seeing is JMU and App State.
That'll be a good game.
Just because JMU moving up and I JMU's rolled their first two. They're 2-0, but they didn't play anybody. So I'm interested to see how they do against the App State team.
Yeah, that should be a good game for sure. Texas Tech.
Yeah, that could have man. I watched the Texas Tech game against NC State, and Texas Tech, they I don't know who they're going to start at quarterback. I think they said they're going to play them both, Donovan Smith and Baron Morton, and they both played against NC State. Morton didn't play till late, but neither one of them looked good to me.
They should probably start neither and go with the third guy. I think would be the
Right.
Well, unfortunately, Tyler Shook's injured. I think he's out till like October. So.
There's got to be somebody. I mean, to have like a flag football scrimmage.
The problem with Donovan Smith is the dude will look amazing on one play, and then the next play he will throw the worst pick six you ever seen.
He's Aaron. This is like dating me. It's old school, but he's Aaron Brooks from the Saints back in
the
early 2000s. The guy looked like an all-pro one play, and the next play is like, why is this guy in the NFL?
Right. I mean, that's and they put Morton in, and I think the second pass he threw a pick six, so or an interception. I don't know if it was a pick six, but
so you're saying if you're in any kind of college IDP league, you need some Texas DBs out there.
Oh yeah, Jalen Ford,
right.
Jalen Ford, buddy.
Yep.
Jalen Ford had a hell of a game again this week.
Yeah, he did.
He had like 15 tackles or something like that.
Yeah, he's quite the playmaker for them. He does a little bit of everything for them.
And especially with Overshone out the first half, I mean, that's if you own Jalen Ford, I'd be starting him.
Yeah, he's going to rack up the tackles, I would think, this week.
Well, and I think he's kind of switched into like that, the Texas defense last year, Overshone didn't play in the middle exclusively. They kind of let him roam and make plays, and
I think that's Ford this year, and Overshone's in the middle.
Overshone's moved more into that middle role where, not that he doesn't get his tackles and stuff like that, but like, he's not kind of the wild card on the defense, right? They just kind of say, okay, just go out there and raise hell. And that's what they're letting Ford do right now. So
that does it for the big matchups. I think it's more smaller games for the rest of the schedule. You could look at Stanford and Washington maybe late. Wyoming, BYU might be a decent game late. But,
you didn't even talk about the game that ESPN's not that should have been the game of the week is Duke at KU.
Both undefeated.
Both undefeated.
There you go.
Should have brought everything over here to Lawrence because that's where it's at on Saturday. I'm going to call that. That's going to be the game of the day. I'm going to call it right now.
That's actually on FS1 at 12 o'clock noon Saturday.
What the fuck is that?
Where that Fox Sports 1.
That's probably something that just only goes to trailer parks in Tennessee.
Hey, I get it in Virginia too, man.
Well, the trailer parks in Virginia.
That might be a good game.
TCU SMU. That's another rivalry game, right?
Yeah.
That's
and the SMU coach is now at TCU, so that should be interesting.
Yeah. So that'll be probably a fun game. It'd probably be more intriguing if SMU wouldn't have lost on Saturday night.
They looked good, but then they lost late.
I know it's a defense show, man, but got Rashee Rice, man. That dude can freaking play.
Yeah, he can.
I don't know. As far as in college football, now you can say it to him about his NFL potential. Maybe it's not there. Man, there's not a better receiver on Saturdays than that kid.
Yep.
I don't know. Chuck Sizzle give him a run for the money.
Who?
Chuck Sizzle. Charlie Jones.
Nah.
Yeah.
Charlie Jones.
Chuck Sizzle.
Charlie Jones will start hitting some of these Big
Chuck
Ten games
Sizzle,
here
baby.
pretty soon, and everybody's like, "Who was that guy that called these passes early on?" He's probably caught more passes in 3 games at Purdue than he caught in 3 years at Iowa.
Oh, he probably caught more passes in 1 game at Purdue than he caught in 3 years at Iowa.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's
I think he's got like 47 targets in 3 games, something like that.
oh yeah, they're just peppering that guy right now. It's crazy what they
I don't. That was a good game. I don't know if you saw. You guys watched that game, the Syracuse Purdue game on Saturday. That was. I gotta say I am impressed with Robert and the offensive coordinator, because he has turned Garrett Schrader into someone who can pass the ball.
It's
and I'm
39.
surprised Syracuse ain't ranked.
39 in his career and then 32 so far this year, so he's not quite there.
Yeah, one more game and he'll be there.
Right. And because both defenses or both teams are so bad, Notre Dame at North Carolina, that might actually be a high scoring game.
Or it could be a low scoring game too. Who knows with those two?
It could be, because Notre Dame's defense is good, but Notre Dame's offense sucks. So it's strength on strength. The North Carolina offense is the strength.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame defense is the strength.
Defense. Oh, they're
Notre Dame offense did not look good last week.
Oof. Yeah, that was rough. That was rough.
I didn't think it was possible for Drew Pine to be a worse passer than Tyler Buckner, but I think he is.
He's sure trying to make it look that way, right?
Yeah. I thought Pine would at least be. I mean, he's obviously not going to run like Buckner, but I thought he'd at least be able to pass, and he didn't look so good on Saturday.
All right. Oh, and then here's your game of the day, game of the night. Number 2 Alabama versus Vanderbilt. That'll be a close game.
Yeah. Did you hear Nick Saban talking about him today? How they're so much better at quarterback and they have good players, and
oh yeah, he's setting them up for the ass whipping that's coming.
No, that's the Belichick model of, you always have to downplay everything on your team and
upsell the other team.
It's such an old it's like an old gimmick.
I did watch the first 2 Vanderbilt games, and Mike Wright looked like a world beater, and now the kid's not even on the field. Like, does he look that bad, I guess?
The
passing's not his strong suit, but
first game they played Hawaii, who might be the worst team in college football.
Hawaii is the worst FBS team, 100%.
That's saying something with Timmy Chang, right? That the go home thing doesn't always work, I guess. But
I think it will. It's going to take him time.
Yeah, that game was absolutely horrible. Hawaii is with how they're playing right now, they should probably be in Division II, right? And then I think they would struggle with a lot of teams. So
and then Vanderbilt played Wake Forest, I think.
Yes. So
looks like we lost Chop.
Yeah, he missed out or something. Maybe he'll jump back, but you gotta
raise your head
right,
so we can see you.
Yeah, daggone it, Choppy, you always messing stuff up. They are better at linebacker. I mean, at quarterback and stuff, but the talent gap is so wide. They're still the bottom of the SEC, right? So, which is not saying a whole lot for Hawaii, because they drubbed Hawaii, and I was like, oof, that's not good. So,
Choppy messaged me. He says Choppy's having technical difficulties, so he's done.
Okay, not a problem. We're almost done as well. So.
I don't have anything else for.
Yeah, I was looking. I don't.
ODU plays Arkansas State, and I'm interested in that, because if they can't beat Arkansas State, they might not win another game all year.
Ooh.
I mean,
that's rough.
I've said it, and people have called me crazy, but it's entirely possible. The two worst teams on ODU's schedule were UVA and Virginia Tech.
Wow.
You know, their next best shots, I think, for a win is Arkansas State and South Alabama, because after Arkansas State we play Liberty. That's looking like probably going to be a loss. And then we start Sun Belt play. We got Georgia State, Georgia Southern, Coastal Carolina, App State.
Right.
So yeah. ODU could have a better team than last year and only win 1 or 2 games.
Yeah, they'll get there. I mean,
that's the offense.
Who knows what will happen in the App State game, right? Who knows what will happen in that game? So,
true.
Be interesting to see what comes out this week. There's a few big games, so there's usually a couple every week. So, yep.
There'll be some upsets. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there'll definitely be some upsets or whatever, but hopefully Tennessee will come out on top this week. It's and end this ridiculous streak, but which I think for them that's huge, right? If they can, you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone here too, is the big thing. So, A, you're beating a rival that you haven't beaten in quite some time, and B, you're beating a ranked opponent, which is taking that next step for Tennessee. So it's kind of a 2 bird 1 stone thing here. So we'll see.
I'm surprised Florida's still ranked, but yeah.
I kind of am. Well, I think it's an overreaction when they beat Utah, right? Because they jumped 12 or 13, and now they've kind of slowly.
High, yeah.
So I think if they hadn't jumped, if that overreaction in the polls hadn't happened, I think now they might be out of it. But
yeah, that's true.
But if they play like they did against Utah, that's going to be trouble for Tennessee. So we'll see. If you don't have anything else, I think we're done.
Yeah, I'm good, man. So we'll see y'all
as
next
always,
week.
Yep. Thanks for listening. Please tune in next week.
Rate, review, subscribe.
Rate, review, subscribe. Wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can go over to the IDP Nation page and review it there too. And
join the Patreon if you're not.
Yes, join the Patreon. We got all IDP Devy stuff. Yes, got all kinds of stuff going on over there. And with that, I think we are
like and
done.
Subscribe on YouTube.
Yes, help us grow if you can do that. And it's the same thing on any where you listen to your podcast or on IDP Nation page. There's a whole review section. Go in there and give us 5-star reviews or whatever. And that helps us grow, helps us get a bigger audience and turn this something into what we've got it going at right now.
And we should have an interview up next day or two.
Yep. We've got an interview that we just finished before we started this tonight. So be on the lookout for that. It's probably going to be tomorrow. We got to do a little editing. We had a couple malfunctions. So we'll get that cleared up and we'll get that posted at the podcast as well. The interview itself, if you want to read it, we'll have that up too. So we'll try to get to all that tomorrow afternoon sometime. And with that, we are out.
Good job. You remembered.
I did.